The other side is open too if you want a little more space. It seems very right-wing right now.
वर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दना मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृता त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दना मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृता ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दना
Welcome everyone to the funeral of Bazil Sydney Mahabeer. If that name is unfamiliar to you, you may be in the wrong funeral. You're welcome nonetheless. I wish to acknowledge the efforts of those supporting Mom and I and all of us in this difficult time. Those attending via live stream, my brother Rick, his wife Sarah, and their daughter Rosie, my uncle Paul, his son Ravi and his family, my Auntie Dolly and cousin Komali and others, those who flew in to be here, my brother Raj, Alison, Ayla, Westley, those who drove, Sydney and Tomas, and those in Edmonton, Auntie Pinky, Uncle Sham, Sunil and Sheena, EJ and Dennis, and others, my mom's neighbors, who are all sitting together. You guys should be sitting in a crescent. Those who could not attend, my friend Michael, our friend Erna, and many others who I have expressed their condolences. Others whose names I've unfortunately forgotten, I apologize. We are going to do a short service in the back, and then we will commence with the prayer and eulogy. So just hang tight for a few minutes, and then we will get going. If you have any questions or concerns, ask me afterwards. Thank you. Komali and Tejas will now do a short prayer.
Good morning, family and friends. Thank you for your presence. Tejas and I will do a short recitation of the Gayatri Mantra, the first version. The mantra is a universal Hindu prayer that provides wisdom and guidance. In reciting the mantra, it is believed to provide the departed soul with divine light, ensuring its safe passage into the next life or towards moksha. It offers solace during this difficult time.
Savito Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahe Dhyo Yo Naha Prashodaya Om Bhurvaswaha Tatsavito Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahe Dhyo Yo Naha Prashodaya Om Bhurvaswaha Tatsavito Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahe Dhyo Yo Naha Prashodaya Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Good morning. Please be seated. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Raj. I'm Bazil's eldest. We're just going to do a few short speeches here, and everyone has a chance to say something. A little bit of history of Dad and the rather colorful and adventurous life he lived. So bear with us. Each person will take a moment. He was born in then British Guiana on May 1st of 1932 to farmers. Dad's early childhood was marked by hard work, as is common on most farms. There is never any end of work to be done. In his mid-teens, he left for the United Kingdom, traveling to England in 1953, where he worked in a tin stamping mill for 6 months, fresh off the boat, so to speak, in the UK. At this time, he also received a letter from Her Majesty's government inviting him to join the armed services. At that time, mandatory draft was in place, so he became a member of the British Royal Armoured Corps in the British Armed Services, where he would become an operator of a Centurion tank, training in Salisbury Plains, as well going overseas to train in Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula. Dad's returned to the UK in time for Operation Musketeer, which would become the Suez Canal Crisis, for those of us who are fans of history. After seeing extensive action in Suez, on his transit back, shadowed by an American submarine at Gibraltar, was one of Dad's highlights. He also received an option to re-enlist in Her Majesty's Armed Services, which he politely declined after that portion of his service, and decided that civilian life was more to his feeling. Going on to college in Chaswick, studying military history and many languages. Dad was fluent in Latin, spoke Spanish and French as well. That's just a brief history of his early years. As Dad is, and for many years, referred to as military service, asked Tejas to play, as traditional for a military person, the final post.
Thank you, Tejas. I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Rabin, the youngest of the three brothers. After backpacking through Europe and North America, Dad returned to Guyana. On the day he applied to agriculture school as a very senior student of 33 years, he met the administrator's assistant, my mom. Despite Mom's rather poor assessment of this man with his British accent and motorcycle, they both revisited their initial impression and were married a year later in 1966. Their first son was born 3rd December 1966, that's Raj. Then Rick, who's attending via live stream, 3rd April 1968, and myself, 12th March 1969. Due to rising tensions in what was now the Republic of Guyana, Mom immigrated to Canada in 1972, leaving Dad at home with 3 small children for the next year. On 2nd July 1973, we arrived in Ottawa and began our Canadian journey as a family. We lived in Ottawa from 1973 to 1977, once again due to rising civil unrest, the FLQ crisis, for those of us who remember. And Dad, hearing about the opportunities out west in some place called Edmonton, Alberta, we packed up the 1965 Chevy Malibu, known as Old Betsy, and we drove out west. Dad built a little cot that would fit in the footwell of the back seat. There was no seatbelts. He didn't buy anything, rather using scrap lumber and some toys, and sponge rubber, and we would alternate head to foot like 3 small sardines in the back seat from Ottawa, through Northern Ontario, and across Manitoba and Saskatchewan before arriving in Edmonton.
I just wanted to share some memories of the things that my dad taught us as we were growing up. First of all, as Rob mentioned, cars. He was always maintaining vehicles, working on them, keeping them going, and it developed into a lifelong passion for myself as I got into the automotive industry and enjoyed rebuilding cars. And many days Dad would come and visit me when I was in my career living in Calgary and helping me with whatever sports car I was tearing down and rebuilding at the time. Home maintenance. We always joked there were three things to do, way to do home maintenance: the right way, the wrong way, and Dad's way. Always left us a little puzzled on occasion of what he came up with, the problem solved. But it did teach us that you have to think outside the box sometimes, and that maintaining where you live, keeping it clean, nice looking, and well looked after was important, both for your own health and so that you had pride in your ownership. How a gentleman should dress. Dad had a great impression from the military, so a gentleman should always dress with a proper tie, sports coat, dress slacks, and shoes should be spit shine to a high gloss. Always. Always carry three things with you, he said: a pen, handkerchief, penknife. Check. He said, always never know when you're going to need them. How to correctly make your bed, and do it first thing in the morning so that you have that out of the way. A little story about that. What, unbeknownst to us, the way he taught us how to make the bed was called the proper military fashion, or hospital corners. And I didn't realize this until, as a new recruit myself in the Canadian Armed Forces, we were on the first day given a stack of linens and directed to our racks or bunks and said, make your bed. And for anyone who's ever been in the military or seen military movies, you will know that this is actually your first step into what is called basic training, or, as those of us who survived it, help. Because you go through it, and it's tough, it's hard. The first thing is to make your bed, and we did, but I made it just the way I was taught to make it, not knowing any difference. My fellow recruits, who were looking at me going, what in the world are you doing? I said, I'm making a bed. So I taught them how to make a bed. Our drill sergeant coming in was quite surprised to find that we'd actually made the bed correctly. Drum tight, you could bounce a quarter off it. Proper way my dad taught me how to make a bed. Needless to say, one of the many things that I still to this day do. When dinner conversations with my dad were always interesting because of his passion for history, his learning when he was at Chaswick College and later on. Our dinner conversations would range from the Romans, the Greeks, all the way through Marcus Aurelius, Caesar Augustus, Nero, Hannibal, Rommel, Patton, Churchill, many others, giving us a firm understanding of not only where we were in history, but how history affects us and the things that were done before us. To this day, it inspired a passion in all of us boys to keep lifelong learning, because Dad was always doing that, always reading. Passion for knowledge. One thing we enjoyed as family was horse racing, the thoroughbred racing of the Triple Crown, the Belmont, Kentucky Derby, and the Preakness. It was a family affair for us. Dad's background in agriculture shone through as he was always regaling us with stories of, look at that magnificent horse. And though none of us ever got into the agriculture end of it, we do know which end of a horse was which, thanks to Dad. James Bond films. He was fond of the Bond films, being very British. And there were many movie nights as young men we spent watching the old Bond films. Fishing. He taught us it's not actually required to catch a fish. We didn't do that very often. But it was just a lot of fun just to go fishing with the family and enjoy the time spent outdoors. Camping. Many, many road trips. And camping to this day, which we also teach our kids. We all enjoy camping, and we got that love from my dad. Though I think from him, it was from the military end of it. We all had tents. We all go out and enjoy the outdoors. Later in life, Dad's carpentry skills helped me with my passion for boat building. Many times he would come and assist me in many boats that we built and enjoyed as well. 3 generations, my son as well, working on them. In their closing, there's so many things Dad taught us that we only realized after the fact. I have one funny story about my dad. I had just come back home from my first posting in the military, having survived basic training. I was tired. It had been 6 months, exhausted. Just a long flight off the military aircraft, sitting at home having a late dinner. Dad was sitting at the table with me in my uniform. And he said, "You look tired." I said, "Yeah, it was tough, Dad. It's really, really hard." And then he looked at me, he smiled. He said, "Well, here's a bit of advice. Always stand tall, shoulders back, head up, eyes front. and march like you own the world. Good advice, I said. It wasn't until many years later when I became a drill instructor in turn, and before me was a platoon of raw recruits, exhausted after a long day, and I found myself calling that same cadence to them. Stand straight, head up, shoulders back, eyes front, and realized that from an old British soldier to a tired Canadian one to a platoon of raw recruits, bit of advice passed down. Perhaps the best bit of immortality you can imagine. Thanks, Dad. My brother Rick, who's not able to be here today, sent this on. I'll read for him. Our dad was a good father to us boys. He set an example of hard work and neighborly kindness that we still follow in our daily lives today. When he became a grandfather, we saw a new side of him. He was the best papa the grandchildren could hope for, kindly, sweet, caring, and utterly in love with his new little ones for whom he had so much to spend for. He was a good companion on long trips, too. I took him some epic adventures with him and still have his enthusiasm for travel and adventure. He loved nothing more than an open road in front of him and the time to go anywhere he wanted. Together, we saw Alaska, the Yukon, and just about all of Western Canada, even a large section of Australia. I miss reading a map with him, figuring out a route, and planning a trip. I love that his last adventure was to come to Florida to see me get married, and he enjoyed that trip immensely. He taught me so much that I cannot even begin to list it all. I'll miss him forever.
Sunil? My friend Sunil will now read Psalm 23.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you, Sunil. Going back to the biography, arriving in Edmonton, my mom had found two kind-hearted German immigrants, Uncle Eric and Auntie Elsie, who, because of the racism they experienced in post-war Canada, were the only people who would rent to us. My children came to know and love them as Grandpa Eric and Grandma Elsie. They do appear in the slideshow above. Dad joined Edmonton Transit in 1979, a company he would stay with until his retirement in 1997. ETS enabled Dad to work split shift so he could be at home for his 3 latchkey kids at lunchtime. He would often give us free transfers when we had to use the bus. For those representatives of Edmonton Transit here, please ignore that part. We were of modest means and did not fly anywhere for vacation. As Raj indicated, we drove and drove and drove. Every summer, there was at least one camping trip, at first with borrowed equipment, then a tent trailer, tents, the Coleman stove, Big Red chewing gum, family-sized Aero and Kit Kat bars, beans, toast, and Vienna sausages. He would often wake us up on long drives, they were all long drives, telling us to see the sunrise and look at those rock formations. I do this now to my kids, but I've added dogs. Before these trips, he would get out his trusty manual grease gun, jack up old Betsy, and grease all the nipples. He showed us how to do that and change a tire. Old Betsy was eventually replaced with a 1988 Toyota Land Cruiser. It also appears in the slideshow. Probably the nicest vehicle my dad ever owned. He could also sleep anywhere, anytime, a skill we have all inherited. Other things Dad taught us: only move dirt and snow once. He would always say, a journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first one, usually while moving that pile of dirt and snow 3 or 4 times. How to prune a tree properly. the exact opposite of the way he did it. That many jobs can be done manually, but they can be done better with the right tool. How to first pull nails from dry lumber, then straighten them out on the concrete sidewalk with a hammer he found on the side of the road. These nails were then stored in old mason jars, which he also found, and kept in the garage. They may be in Mom's garage now after 3 or 4 moves. Not to store your extra home improvement supplies in plastic bags. For attempting retrieval always started with, I know I have that. It's to find it. Not to accept what the news or government said as truth. This one's going to hurt a little. Not to trust that the USA has Canada's best interest in mind. That was quite prescient. To talk about wide-ranging issues from many perspectives. When traveling, not to keep your passport where some light-fingered people on a crowded bus could lift it. To check upstream for a dead beaver before washing your truck. To cut brush with a cutlass, not a machete. If you know, you know. To enjoy a crusty roll and butter, the simple things in life. When we were younger at Christmas, he would wake us up with hot chocolate, then coffee fortified with rum. We were over 18. Before his heart issues, he would always smoke cigars on Christmas Day. He was one of the first people I know who had a compost pile and really knew how to get the best out of the soil. My love of gardening I learned from him and my mom. Whether indoor or outdoor, they were always growing something, legally. In later life, as first Raj, then Rick, then I started to have children, Dad became the best grandfather, or Papa, as all the grandkids called him. They will speak of their own experiences, but I can say he let them do anything they wanted. There were no rules at the grandparents' house. They ate what they wanted. He always made sure they had whatever snacks or treats. My parents subscribed to Disney Junior just so the kids could watch their shows. He slept on the floor and they jumped on him. He took them for rides in the wheelbarrow, to the park, pushed them on the swing, and on occasion drove them to school. I will now turn over the mic to my cousin Ganchan, who is the eldest of our generational cohort.
Good afternoon. So my name is Ganchan, and I came all the way from Orlando, Florida, USA. So Uncle Bazil is my dad's brother-in-law. So obviously Auntie Lily, my aunt. Myself, Rabin, Raj, and Rick are first cousins, and in fact, I'm the most senior, or you say the oldest, of the cousins. When I look at the boys, he doesn't look like really. I think Raj is about 14 years older than I am, right? Something here. All right. I first met Uncle Bazil around 1968 when himself and Auntie Lily visited my dad in a rural part of Guyana, in the interior of Guyana. I met him again in the 1970s in the urban area of Guyana, the tongue side, countryside. After a lapse of some 44 years, I came here at Edmonton in May 2018 and visited him in the assisted living home, care building. He was so very excited. And he welcomed me in open arms. He gave me a big hug. And he was so excited. He was well-dressed and very jovial. He made jokes, and he loved my shoes shining, and and he was in better health at that time. I visited him again a few years ago, along with Auntie Lily and Auntie Dolly, but obviously his health was not really the best, the same. But he was still very gracious and welcoming. Now for my aunt, I must say something about my Aunt Lily. From age 4.5 years to age 10.5 years, I was living with my grandparents, with Auntie Lily, at her parents' home in a place called Unity in Guyana. So I went there to attend school because there was no school in the hinterland where I born. Now, she was like a mother to me. She was responsible for my safety, my health, my education, and my discipline also. Yes, she had to do that part too. And obviously, she makes sure I maintain good behavior. She has done a good job. I became a good boy, and I became a school teacher, an acting headmaster, and I have to thank her a lot, and Auntie Dolly, the other aunt who took me to school back and forth. I knew that I have to be here for the funeral. I knew that. And very important also, I knew that I needed to come a few days earlier to keep her company and to cheer her up, my aunt. I came on the last Sunday, and obviously it's a lonely time for her too. Now, every afternoon from Sunday, she and I would go out for a walk, and she would tell me so many good things about her many, many years of marriage, and about all the happy years with her six grandchildren. I beat her, I have 8 grandchildren. And I actually knew the names, Westley, Sydney, Anushka, Tejas, and I think 2 more. Yeah. And she told me all the great love for them, and their papa. His great love for him, the papa, uncle. Now, one night, we stayed up until about 3 a.m. in the morning, monitoring the Canadian elections. Yeah. And the results. And I can tell you she was so very happy with the results. Yeah, and I am happy too. Now, from the little I knew Uncle Bazil, and from what I learned from her and from the boys, I can easily conclude by saying that he was a great husband, a great father, and a wonderful papa. A real gentleman. So on behalf of my families and on my own behalf, I send my deepest condolences to my aunt, her 3 boys, and all their families. Thank you very much.
Wesley?
Hello, I'm Wes, Basil's first grandchild, Raj's son. Today I'd like to contribute a few memories of my grandfather with everyone here. So when I was little, he would call me his number 1, being that I was his first grandchild. I would call him Papa, as it was easier to say than Grandpa. He would also call me Barney, as I love to watch Barney the Magic Dinosaur on the TV at my grandparents' house. Eventually, I got older. When I was about 10, I got mad at him for calling me Barney or number 1. Afterwards, he called me grandson almost exclusively going forwards. Even 20 years later, he would still greet me with a cheery, "Hello, grandson," when he would see me. Another time, when I was very young, he had my sister and I in a little red wagon, and he was taking us for a ride around the neighborhood. At some point, we started complaining about something, or possibly fighting, as siblings often do. And he started shouting, "Kids for sale, kids for sale," as he continued pulling us along. I still remember that to this day, almost 25 years later, and it still makes me laugh. Later on, my sister and myself and our parents moved to Calgary for our dad's work. I remember Papa driving down in his big silver Toyota Land Cruiser with Grandma to help us get settled after we had moved in. And years later, we moved to a new, bigger house just down the street, And they came down again with a big silver truck and a cooler full of Grandma's cooking and spent days helping us move a seemingly endless supply of boxes into the new house. Now, after I graduated high school and I started working, I found better prospects in Edmonton, and I moved up there. Of course, I stayed with my grandparents at their house. And Papa would go shopping often. He'd always ask me if I needed anything, and I had to be careful what I'd ask him for, because if he couldn't find it, he would go to multiple stores, spending hours looking. Once I'd asked him to see if he could find tarragon at Walmart when he was going, and he said, "Sure thing, grandson." Many hours later, Grandma and I had started to get worried about him as he hadn't come back. He finally showed up, and he said he'd found the tarragon at the third store he'd gone to, specifically looking for the silly dried spice that I'd asked if he could find. I have so many more wonderful and silly memories of my grandfather, such as his relationship with our dog Bella, who lived at their house with me for many years and needed him to give her a cookie every night before she could go to bed, or our arguing over the lawn on how long to cut the grass, or how much pressure to put in the Land Cruiser's tires to smooth out the ride. I could go on for hours about all of these things. However, others do need an opportunity to share their stories as well. So thank you for hearing a few of my fondest memories of my papa, and wherever you are now, it was an honor to be your grandson. Oh, thank you very much.
Sydney?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney, and thank you all for being here to celebrate my grandfather. As many of you know, my grandfather, whom I always called Papa, always called me Piney. He initially named me Penny after finding a lucky penny on the way to the hospital the day I was born. He later amended it to Piney based on my childhood Australian accent. Here's a poem I wrote for him. Papa, from the first day we met and you named me Penny, to the last day we spoke and you offered me a smile. Thank you for all of the wonderful memories, they were aplenty. Thank you for all of the love, it lasts more than a while. As a grandfather, you brought me so many sweets. As a man, you accomplished many feats. A man, a father, a grandfather, and always my Papa.
Hi, everyone. For those friends and extended family that don't know me, I'm Ayla, Bazil's second granddaughter after Sydney, and I'm Westley's sister. Papa had nicknames for all of us grandchildren, and to him, I was Ayla Girl or Ayla Girly. I don't have many adult memories with Papa, in part because he didn't speak very much at length, and also because I spent the better part of my adult life traveling and living overseas. I think that's something Papa and I had in common, a love for travel and adventure. Grandma always tells me that I have itchy feet, just like Papa, always traveling and on to the next place and the next mountaintop. But I have a lot of fond childhood memories with him, helping him to clean the garage, mowing the grass, playing in the yard, and going for rides in the Land Cruiser. He would take Wes and I for wheelbarrow rides when we were small, and we would help him dig up parts of the garden. He had a particular dislike for dandelions and anthills. We did, in later years, when I came to visit, talk about the places he had traveled in Europe and how I had been to some of those places and would like to go to others he recommended. Sometime around 2017, when I was home for a while after my first trip to New Zealand, I made a painting of a sailboat on a calm lake at sunset. When Papa saw it, he was so taken with the painting, he insisted on paying me $200 for it, and even when he had to go to the nursing home, the painting went with him. He spent a lot of time looking at it, and I think it brought him a sense of calm and peace. I'm happy I created something he enjoyed right to the end. When I saw him over a year ago, I reminded him that I had painted it, and he was very happy to rediscover that it had come from me. It was a series of happy coincidences that I was able to be here in Canada and to see him before he passed, and to be with everyone here today to remember Papa and think, and for that I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Anushka.
Hello, my name is Anushka. I am the third youngest of the grandchildren. I will be speaking on behalf of myself and my brother, Tejas, who played the trumpet. I went through 3 drafts trying to decide just how I wanted to present my grandfather, and I hope that I can do him justice. Papa was known in many different ways. To my brother and myself, he was a kind, gentle man who would move the moon and stars if it made us smile. We have many memories of arriving at our grandparents' house, and Papa would have little plastic containers with animal crackers and nuts for each of us. If we were even more than 5 minutes late, Papa would be phoning up my dad asking us where we were and why we were late. And although it frustrated my dad to no end, it was reassuring to know that Papa was always looking out for us. Tejas and I spent the better part of our childhoods in the old home in downtown Edmonton. Some of my earliest memories and most core memories were of bothering Papa while he was sleeping on the floor of him and Grandma's bedroom. Papa would prevent us from crawling on top of the bed when we would try and jump on him by hugging us and pinching our toes or tickling our sides. The squeals from us and the laughter from him would fill the house. Those memories are ingrained in our minds and to this day are the sounds of our childhood. He always had an interesting way of showing how much he cared. I recall falling and scraping my hands on some concrete once. Papa turned to me and he told me, "Rub some dirt in it, put some duct tape on it." That's such a Papa thing to say. And even though Grandma would not allow me to do that or him to do it for me, it was the thought that counted. On occasion, Papa would drive Tejas or I to kindergarten, and when we arrived, he'd always talk to our teachers. Despite our age, Tejas and I recall how steady of a driver he was. Maybe it was because he drove tanks, buses, and every other vehicle under the sun, or because he knew the city better than anyone. He drove with the vigilance that could only be ascribed to a hawk. It didn't matter how many potholes the city stubbornly refused to fill, nor how many traffic lights, incompetent drivers, or construction blockages crossed our paths. Papa drove us smoothly with the efficiency that a committee could only dream of. Then there was the red wagon. Made for Westley and Ayla, forged out of steel, wood, and great care, the red wagon would bark on many adventures to the park, with Papa at the helm. He would tow us in that little red wagon with Grandma walking behind to ensure we didn't fall off. We spent hours with both of our grandparents at that park. Papa would push Tejas on the swings and would watch us splash around in the water, even though 5 minutes prior we swore we didn't want to get in. It never mattered that we would go home soggy. All that mattered was that we had our grandparents with us. We like to think it made him happy to know that his grandchildren were having fun. There was more than one memory that I very clearly remember. And this one memory, if I were to ever write about it, would be called Papa and the Birch Tree. I was young, maybe 4 or 5 when this happened, but Papa took it upon himself to prune the birch tree at the front of the old house. I recall being incredibly confused that summer, because one day I'd go over to the house, and the birch was standing proudly in the sun, cedar waxwing sitting on its branches. Then I'd come back another day, and a few branches off the top were missing. And then, all of a sudden, one day I arrived at the house. There was only a few stumps for branches left, protruding from one very long stump in the center. I picked up from the adults around me that Papa, accidentally or intentionally, we may never know, over-pruned the poor tree. I recall for years after that, Grandma would put some potted plants on the little stumpy branches. Although it may not seem like a significant event, Papa taught me some very important lesson. Less is more, especially when it comes to pruning. We both Tejas and I agree that his laughter and kind eyes were why we both remember what we both remember him for. We always knew, even as children, that Papa would be there for us no matter what. As we got older, we learned more about Papa's life. Stories about him as a bus driver were some of the first we ever heard. How he participated in a bus driver strike, his punctuality, and how well he knew every route that he drove. Stories that spoke to his convictions and gave us both great respect for bus drivers and service workers in general. I think his stories about his time in the British military fascinated me the most as a child, and still to this day I think about them. How he could hide a tank in between the pyramids of Egypt or sleep in graveyards when he was theoretically supposed to be keeping watch. My personal favorite story is of Papa and the shovel. If you know, you know. All these stories painted a better picture of who Papa was as a person. He was an incredible driver, he had very little fear, and refused to allow bullies to win. If there's one thing about Papa, it is the fact that he was one stubborn man. Tejas and I both aspire to be even half as stubborn as he was. He was an incredible man with so many stories that could fill a library. He demonstrated so many qualities and held strong beliefs. I could probably stand up here and talk for hours discussing his life and what he meant to each one of us. I chose these stories because they showcase the kind of man that my brother and I knew him to be. I want to encourage everyone to not only mourn him, but also remember the person that he was, remember the good and the bad, remember who he was to you. To Tejas and I, he will always be the gentle-eyed man with a soul-warming laugh that we were lucky enough to have loved us dearly. So, Papa, wherever you are, we want you to know that we love you too. Thank you.
I'd like to take this time to allow the audience, if you have a few memories to share, you can come up to the microphone so the people on the live stream can hear you, or we can bring a microphone to you if you want me to. Okay, not seeing a rush to the microphone, we can always chat afterwards at the reception. At this point, we will do the file past. The ushers will direct you, if you wish, to come through. A few flower petals, pay your respects. And then afterwards, ushers will direct you to the reception hall. There are refreshments there. Please eat and make new friends. It's never too late to make new friends. Mom, Raj, and I will accompany Dad, and we will be at the hall in about half an hour. Thank you.
Taking another few minutes, reading some prayers from the Bhagavad Gita and singing some bhajan, right? Mom, can I sing one bhajan? Okay. No, I'm singing. Okay. No. Sit down. Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Nath Narayana Vasudeva गोविंद मेरी यही प्रार्थना है भूलूं न मैं नाम कभी तुम्हारा निष्काम होके मैं दिन रात गाऊं हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव देहांत काले तुम सामने हो मुरली बजाते मन को लुभाते यही गीत गाते मैं निज प्राण त्यागो हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्री कृष्णाय नमः वासुदेवाय नमः गोविंदाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् I pray to Lord Krishna to show his mercy on the departure soul in his long journey, which is the heavenly planet, and take him back to Godhead, Golok Dham. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham Vishwadharam gaganasadrasham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogibhirdhyanagamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaranam Sarvalokekanatham. And few words again, I'm going to read from Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. As the embodied soul, Dehino Sminnata Dehe Komar Yavanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Prapti Dhiras Tatra Namuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from the boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into the another body at the death of the soul person is not bewildered by such as a change. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिनायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. For the soul there is neither birth nor the death. At any time he has not come into the being, does not come into the being, and will not come into the being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and the privileged. He is not slain when the body is slain. Vasanjirnan yatha vihaya navani grahanati naro parani tatha sarirani vihaya jirnan anyani sayanti navani dehi. As a person put on the new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts the new material bodies, giving up the old ones. Nayanam siddhanti sastrani nayanam dahati pavaka na chainam klidayantyapo na shosayati maruta. The soul can never be cut to the pieces by any weapon, or burned by the fire, or moisturized by the water, or withdrawn by the wind. Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsaya. As whoever at the end of his life quit his body, remember me alone as one attained nature, my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantante kalevaram tam tam aveti kaunti yasada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever states to the being on the remember when he quit his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will be attained without fall. He who meditate on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, his mind constantly engaged in the remember me, and undoubted from that the path, he is a path, O path is sure to reach me. Summarize from the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever has happened for the good. Whatever is happening and happening for the good. Whatever will happen shall also happen for the good. What have you lost that you cry for? What did you bring that you lost? What did you create that was destroyed? You come empty hands and will go empty hands. Whatever is yours today was somebody else yesterday and will be somebody else for the tomorrow. Asato ma sadgamayi tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma mritangamaya. भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना, अब तक तो निभाया है आगे भी निभा देना। संभव है झंझटों में मैं तुमको भूल जाऊं, पर नात कही तुम भी मुझको न भुला देना। दल बल के साथ माया घेरे मुझे जो आकर, तब देखते ना रहना, झट आके छुड़ा देना। तुम इष्ट में उपासक, तुम पूज्य में पुजारी। यदि सत्य है तो स्वामी सच करके दिखा देना। भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना। Thank you very much. Another 2 minutes, one of my friend from our Krishna temple, he is going to elaborate a little bit on the Bhagavad Gita. That's okay? Please come up.
Thank you so much. I'll not be taking much of your time. I'll be expanding more on the spiritual aspect of our lives. As the priest sang many, prayers and mantras. We started with Gayatri Mantra and planted some more prayers to sanctify the environment. I'll be touching more on the spiritual side so that the passing person has more advantage and benefit on his side. If we talk of spirituality, we talk of two things, that is soul, and second thing is liberation. When we talk of liberation, we are asking to get out of something. Why do we need liberation? We are in bondage, that is why we need liberation, right? If a person is in jail, he wants to get out of jail, that is why he is asking for liberation. Now, the question arises is, how do we get liberation? And many people even deny the existence of soul. There is a very easy way to prove the existence that we are not these bodies, we are souls. When we identify ourselves, how do we identify ourselves? We say, this is my hand, this is my leg, this is my family, my car, my lips, my eyes. We do not say I hand, I legs. So we need to understand that this body is mine, but I am not this body. Then the question arises, is who am I really? The real answer is that we are souls. And as eternal souls, we are changing bodies from time to time. Now, the question is how to achieve liberation. Liberation means to stopping the cycle of repeated birth and death. I have created my fortune, my wealth. I have created my family here, my house, my car. But at the time of death, I have to leave all of that and, give up all of that. I am forced to leave that. Why is that? I need to find a way so that I can stop death. That is liberation. Now, what is the way to stop the repeated birth and death? After that, I need to take another body. Another birth will happen. Another life will happen. Again, death will happen. Again, the cycle will continue. The purpose of human form of life is to find the answer to this question, how to stop repeated birth and death. And that is actually what liberation is. When we talk of Bhagavad Gita, there are various instances which help us in understanding the answer to this question. There's one verse which says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajanti ante kalevaram. Whatever we think in the time of death, such consciousness will attain the next body. Now we need to take advantage of this situation. Life is a preparation and death is the test. If we prepare in our life, then the test we'll be passing the test. How do we pass the test of death? When we prepare in our life, in our spiritual terms, we connect to God more and understand and practice spirituality. Then at the time of death, we'll be able to remember God, and with that consciousness, in our next life, we attain God. That is the simplest way to how to get to liberation. Thus, we need to practice it. And practice makes us perfect. So I would wind up now with giving up some key takeaways that we are not these bodies, we are souls. We are passing passengers in a train, and everyone drops out at a certain station. Whoever is born has to die one day, that's a fact. But we need to understand that we need to find a way to stop this. I don't want to leave my family behind. I want to remain with them eternally. I need to find an answer for that, to stop repeated birth, and that is the motive of human form of life. Because other species cannot understand this. Only human form of life has the consciousness to understand this higher sense. If I bring a dog here, he cannot understand spirituality. What is God? What is the spiritual aspect of life? Only human form has this benefit. So we need to use our life in the most advantageous way and bring an end to this repeated birth and death. With that, I will pardon you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Shanti Patam, and then after that, everyone's coming and offering flower. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Asatoma Satgamaye Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityormukshiya Mamratat. Om Deo Shanti Antarikshagvam Shanti Prathavi Shanti Apaha Shanti Oshadhaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishvedeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvegvam Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Redi Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Brahma Murari Surartita Lingam Nirmala Bhasita Shobhita Lingam Janma Jadoka Vinashana Lingam Vinashaka Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam Deva Muni Pravarartita Lingam Kamadahana Karuna Karalingam Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Sarva Sugandha Sulepita Lingam Buddhi Vivardhana Karana Lingam Siddha Surasura Vandita Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam Anipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam Daksha Suyagya Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. देवगणार्चितसेवितलिङ्गं भावे भक्तिभिरेव च लिङ्गं दिनकरकोटिप्रभाकरलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् अष्टदलोपरिवेष्टितलिङ्गं सर्वसमोद्भवकारणलिङ्गम् अष्टदरिद्रविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् सुरगुरुसुरवरपूजितलिङ्गं सुरवनपुष्पसदार्चितलिङ्गं परात्परं परमात्मकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय लिङ्गाष्टकमिदं पुण्यं य पठेत् शिवसन्निधौ शिवलोकमाप्नोति शिवेन सह मोदते हरे कृष्ण हरे
Thank you, Pandit. Now, if you'll follow the ushers for refreshments, it'll be out that side.